Hey everybody, welcome back to A Good Enough Girl. My name's Becky and I'll be your host for this afternoon, this evening, this morning, whenever it is that you might be watching, wherever you are. I'd like to welcome back anybody who's been watching for a little while now, and welcome to new subscribers. I woke up one Saturday morning super excited to watch my bi-weekly episode of Allie Makes Everything, and I was mentioned on her podcast. So that was like probably one of the most significant moments in a long time. It made me feel, I was honored, quite frankly, and I was actually crying ugly tears when she mentioned me, because it was such a kind wink and a nod to what I'm doing here. And I really appreciated the recognition. And it was fun to be part of such a great group of other podcasters who, many of them I've been watching and following myself, but some of them were new to me. So I've been adding them to my regular rotations as well. So if you found me on Allie Makes Everything, I will welcome you here and I'm glad to have you. And hopefully you'll like and subscribe and leave some comments. I love chatting with people out in the community. And I find that our Fibre community is probably one of the most wonderful groups of people in the world. So feel free to let me know what you're thinking. If you're having some of the same struggles that I'm having, or if you're dealing with some of the same things to celebrate, I'd love to hear from you. Before we get big into anything, I do want to really quickly, because it's 85 degrees outside today, really quickly talk about my Broom sweater. So I actually finished it for the knit along. I'll kind of come up a little bit so you can see it. Last time I think I had it on, I think I had sleeves and I had, maybe it was done to like right about here, but it's all done. It's completely finished. Well, I call it completely finished. It's good enough for my work. So the sleeves are done. Obviously you can see I have some ends that I still need to weave in and things like that, but everything else is done. And about a month ago, as I was making the sweater, I'm new to sweater knitting. And so size is something that I struggle with a lot. And of course I am always concerned I'm going to make it too small. So I tend to go too big. And so I did that with this sweater. And I think I started with a size 7. And as I was doing it, it basically looked like a raglan sweater for a giant that just hadn't been finished yet, instead of a cool cropped silhouette for someone my size. So I threw it out to a bunch of people on Instagram and said, you know, what would you do? I was trying to find ways like maybe I could just tuck the inside edges in so that it would take the body, because the body was like huge. And so then I wanted to shrink it in a little bit and then also take the sleeves up. And so a lot of people just said, you know, it'll be good enough, which is typically my mantra, but being the first real sweater that I'm knitting and putting a lot of time and effort into it, I didn't want it to be that realm of good enough. I wanted it to actually be good enough and something that I would reach for and wear, because I didn't want to waste my time creating a sweater that I would never wear. So I took a lot of people's advice and I ripped out. I took the whole sleeve because I had the sleeves right to here. So I ripped it all the way from the sleeves back up to where the bottom of the yoke was. And then I kept going. So I ripped it out to about this area here. So I took off both the sleeves, took off all the body, which was pretty much done and ready for ribbing. And so I went back to here and I started again. So I took out a bunch of the increases, and that made a great silhouette for me. So I'm very happy with the way that it turned out. The width is really good. I think next time I would probably taper the arms a little sooner and a little bit more, because they're kind of a wider sleeve, and they're about bracelet length, which works just fine for me because I normally pull my sleeves up, and so I won't have to. So delighted on how this came out. This was part of the March to May knit along for Andrea Mowry knits, and I'll talk a little bit more about that and kind of my pros and cons on my first real big knit along with prizes and things at the end. And so there was a lot of pressure to get that done. And so I'll kind of give you my take on a knit along a little bit later, but I wanted to show you my final piece of work. So this is an FO, and I'm super excited that I actually have a faux. So there we go. It's been a great week. So over the last week and a half or so, I've been really cranking on stuff. And so I was able to finish this sweater. I think it took me about 86 days from the time that I cast on until the time that I was done and ready to, basically it was blocked and ready to weave in, because I always weave in my ends afterwards because I'm terrified I'm going to do something wrong and then I'm going to need to undo a bunch of stuff and reknit. So I don't like to do any finishing work really until I've seen kind of the general final product. So this is it. This is my Broom sweater. I'm very excited and I love it. I love the yarn, which was the Farmer's Daughter Fibres. It was called the Odang DK, and it was Odang DK in the colorway It's Copacetic. And this was the yarn that my daughter gave me for Christmas. And so this is a gift from her as well as from me for me. So I'm really excited to be able to wear it. Of course, in Seattle, there might be some days in the summer that I can wear it, but probably not a lot. So it'll probably be waiting around until about October, November, because I tend to get really hot anyway and then add summer weather into it. And it's not a great combination. So yeah, so now I'm gonna have to take it off because I'm already starting to get too hot. So we will take that off. But I did want to have a little brag moment on that and show you my FO. So I was very excited about that. So we'll talk a little more about that when I start talking about the knit along and my thoughts, my takeaways, things like that. So there's been a lot that's happened in the last, I think it's been about a month since we last chatted. And obviously I got a haircut. So you may notice if you're not new here, you notice I got a haircut. This is my biannual haircut. So I'm too cheap to pay to get really good haircuts. So I basically will cut it every year and a half, 2 years. I'll get it cut off into like a short bob, an angled bob. And then I'll just let it grow and grow and grow. And then it goes back into the bun, which is what you normally would see me in my big mess of hair stuck on top. And so I got that cut off. I try to find someone who is either trying out to work at a new salon, and so they need to kind of show that they can do certain numbers of haircuts. And so you get some low cost haircuts that way, so from some really talented people. And so that's where I got my haircut from this time. And so it was a relatively new stylist who was trying to make her way into a studio in Bellevue, and she did a great job. So thank you for that haircut. It was Mackenzie over at House of Hebe, if you're interested. And let's see. So I got a haircut. I got some new glasses. I actually got 3 pairs of new glasses, and I'm super stoked because I love a pair of glasses that kind of like, they're a statement. And so these are my statement glasses. And so I have a couple other pairs, but these are my faves. And I went on a trip to Disneyland with some friends of mine. So I do that. Typically it's been about once or twice a year for the last 3 or 4 years. And I have a couple friends, my friends Lynn and Kim, who are Disney crazy, and I'm just a little bit loco for Disney. So but I have FOMO, major FOMO. So I like to, if they're going somewhere, I want to be with them. I don't care what we're doing. So I just want to hang out with my friends. And so we went to Disneyland for a few days at the beginning of the 70th anniversary celebration, which was super fun. And we got to just do some unique things that probably are once in a lifetimes. And so it was really an exciting time to do that. And of course I was knitting throughout Disneyland, because why wouldn't you? Knitting in public is kind of something fun that I'd like to do. I don't just save it for June 14th or whenever Knit in Public Day ends up being. So let's see what else. Then I visited a local yarn shop for LYS Day that we had here in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know if I think it was actually a national celebration, maybe even global. So I went to the Nifty Knitter in Issaquah, which is actually where someone I know, Genevieve, she went on the Canmore retreat. So she works there. So I was really excited to see her after a couple of months after having met her. So I got some really cool yarn. I got to meet some cool people, see some projects. So it was really a fun day. And let's see, I went to Fibre Fusion over the weekend here in Monroe, Washington. It's at one of the fairgrounds, and it's kind of more of a regional yarn festival, and they have really great classes. So I took a class on chain plying and long draw spinning, and so I did some practice with that. So I enjoyed it. I think long draw is probably not for me, just because it makes such a nice woolen prep yarn, which is full of air, and so it's really warm. And again, my theme, don't like to be warm. But I did enjoy that, and I really wanted to learn chain plying because it seems like kind of a fun, easy way to use up one spindle of yarn or one bobbin of yarn and when I spin. So that was very, very cool, and it was way easier than I thought it would be. Once I got the rhythm of it, I was like, oh, this is really easy, and I was making it way too difficult in my own brain. Hey there, this is Editing Becky. Just jumping in to let you know that I had such a great time at Fibre Fusion. I wanted to share some of the highlights with you. So just stick around, watch this cute little video, and I hope you will laugh right along with me, because that was my favorite part of Fibre Fusion. Enjoy. And as far as the knit along, so I don't know if you've ever done a knit along before. So I did a couple of small knit alongs with my local knitting group that I'm a part of. And we made a summer tee and we made a pair of socks. So my socks are the stupid socks, the purple ones that I showed you last time we were here. And they are still 1.5 pairs of socks. Haven't done anything to the heel. They're still the way they were last time. So didn't finish those for the knit along, but then I did finish the summer tee and it was really, really cute. And I'll probably show it in a future video when I talk about all the things I ever knit before YouTube. Because there was a few things before YouTube, but most of my work has really come into heavy rotation now that I'm kind of focusing some of my time and my passion on knitting. But let's talk about the knit along. So the March to May knit along was from Andrea Mowry, and she had a number of different prize packages. So there was 5 different prizes, and they were all basically like gift certificates, patterns, and yarn. So just wonderful, delicious things that I would love to get my hands on. And I am highly competitive. So if you know me, you know I like to play hard and I like to win. And I trash talk quite a bit. But I kept myself very calm and I became a very nice human being when I was in this knit along because it's all for fun and we're just making beautiful things. And so I did participate for the first time in a major knit along because I figured, well, I have 3 months, I might be able to get something done in 3 months. And so I think I mentioned in one of my earlier videos that I have the big cozy cardi on the needles already from Andrea Mowry. And so I thought maybe I'd work on finishing that. But after massive knitting for 3 hours and only getting 10 rows done, I realized that was probably not the best choice for 3 months to finish. So it's kind of been set aside and I pick it up just when I need some mindless knitting. But I had the stuff for the Broom and I was really excited about that and it looked simple enough that I could do it. And so I figured I would bust in and I would try my first sweater through that. And basically the goal was you had to start or you had to finish whether you started or had a work in progress to put into the competition. And so I started a Broom. I started a few days into the competition. And so what I really found that I love about a knit along is that it gives me a deadline because I'm deadline driven. If I don't have a deadline, I don't work. And so even through like all of college, I would write papers the day before they were due. And I could have gotten way better grades and done way better work, but I was like, okay, now I have to get it done because the deadline's tomorrow. And so that deadline really helped me keep focused on the Broom sweater instead of like drifting all over the place and doing little things here and there. So that I found was really a positive thing that I really appreciated having a deadline. However, having a deadline puts a little pressure on everything because I felt like I couldn't do anything else. And literally I stopped doing things around the house. I was just like, I have to knit. All I can do is knit. So like things piled up. The laundry only got done occasionally, and my husband jumped in and was making dinner a lot of the nights. And sometimes we just decided we would have cereal because it was just, none of us felt like cooking. So I really was able to dedicate a lot of time, but as a result, a lot of things at home kind of went onto the back burner. And of course I have a job, I'm a teacher. So when I work those days, typically I can't do a lot of knitting. We have a staff meeting this week, so I'm very excited that I get to sit and knit while we chat and learn things and talk to each other. So that is great. Another pro is that I actually finished a project. So that to me is major. So that right there might tell me that yes, I love a knit along and I should probably participate in more so I can actually have a lot of stuff done. So that is something that I'm going to take away. It did cause a little bit of stress. So that's one of the cons. It was kind of stressful knowing that there was a deadline, but it was really great to see other people doing the same thing at the same deadline. So I found that to be really, really reassuring. And there was people that were like me that were going forward and ripping back. So like I had to rip that sweater back probably 4 different times in small to large ways. So I had to knit the collar back after I had knit it with the wrong needle size. And then I had to undo some of the short rows in the back because I didn't do them correctly. And then I had to take, like you heard about the major undertaking of taking the whole body and the sleeves back up. So I had to do those. I had to finish the last sleeve 4 times. And I honestly don't know what it was, but it was like I would knit too far before I started the ribbing. So I had to pull out an inch of that. I started the ribbing on the wrong size needles, so I had to pull that back out. And I can't even remember what the other ones were. I think I didn't knit far enough. I knit too far. So it was just a lot of back and forth. So it tested my patience, but I always say that, you know, when you're feeling impatient, practice is the best way to improve your patience. So I got a lot of practice on being patient. And then finally, there's a couple things. So this is a pro and a con. You kind of push through mistakes. So instead of stopping, fixating, and trying to make them better, some of them you just let go and you keep going. So like I have a couple on the raglan increases, some of the DK, the Odang DK had some thin sections where it was just more of the silk than it was also the alpaca. And so as a result, they're kind of gappy holes. So I'm probably going to go through with a when I do my weaving in and maybe see if I can overlap some of those or duplicate stitch some. And then I did something that I thought was fun and tricky, that I did I think it's Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off is what I did on my sleeves, because the other bind offs are too fiddly and they just take me way too long. And so I decided that, because I've heard that they look better if you do them from the inside out. So I flipped my cuffs inside out. And what ended up happening is I didn't continue in the same direction. I started going backwards from where I was knitting. So I left a little bit of a circle hole where I switched directions and started going. So I probably could have done something with like a double stitch or something like that you would use for short rows, but I didn't, and it was fine. It looks fine. So I'm sure I'll just fix it up as I do my weaving in on my sleeves. So, but overall, I think overall good experience. I would definitely do it again. And I'm actually planning to cast on. I started a cast on for summertime. The Flock Fibre Festival that I'm going to in August is having a tees and tanks knit along, just so that everybody can kind of get something ready to wear for that event in August. So I have a tank on the needles that I just started for that. So I'm not afraid of a knit along, but I'm also gonna have to be really careful. I love to win prizes, and I tend not to be the prize winner of a lot of things, but it's always worth a try. And so I think I need to just make sure that I'm pacing myself and I'm not joining all the knit alongs all the time, unless there's some duplicates that I can do. So I think like the Grocery Girls, I think right now have a knit along for summer tees and tanks. And I'm happy to join into that one with my tank top, and then also the Fibre Fusion one, and dipping into that for the same thing. So that's my take. What's your take on knit alongs? Have you participated in any? Do you love, or make alongs, crochet alongs? Do you like them? Do they motivate you? Do you find them too stressful? Do you find deadlines to be taking away, stealing the joy from your making process? I'd love to hear more about your experience with a make along. But I'm looking forward to another one. So let's see. So now let's talk a little bit about the knitting that I've been up to. As I mentioned, I've been super productive lately. So I'm going to show you the FOs that I have. So I showed you my broom sweater, and that is probably my biggest deal that I've finished. But I also finally finished my January socks. So Farmer's Daughter Fibre, my sock subscription club. And I call them finished, and they're in the vein of a good enough girl. They're finished enough. I have to weave them in, but they turned out great. I'm really excited. And these help me kind of master the fact that I love a heel and flat, a gusset heel and flat for my heel. That's kind of the most comfortable, stretchy way for me to do it. And I mastered the Kitchener stitch, or the grafting stitch. So that was super cool. I actually had to redo the toe. I think on both of these at one point, I had to rip the Kitchener stitch out and redo it. So I just did the Kitchener stitch on this sock twice in the last couple of days. But it's done, and I'm very excited. I'm very happy with the way that they turned out. And so I'm gonna see if, you can see I even still have all my stitch markers on there. So, one of them I took them off. So stitch markers still on there to count. Yeah, but very excited about those. And again, when the weather's cooler, I'll have some socks to wear. So those are done. I was very excited about that. And my Broom sweater. So overall, FO's very, very good. Sorry for the momentary pause. I needed to have a drink of my iced tea. I'm starting to get real scratchy. I remember last time when I was on, I had lost my voice and it was still kind of trying to come back. And so it goes for most of the day pretty well, but by the end of the day, which it is the end of the day now, and I taught all day, so it tends to start to wear out a little bit. So I might need to take a pause here and there for a little iced tea. And I'm just drinking a basic, it's a cold brew lemon iced tea from Trader Joe's. It's great. You just put cold water, your tea bags, and some ice and sweetener if you like it. And in 5 minutes, you have a great cup of iced tea, glass iced tea. So if you like iced tea, this is a good one. All right, so whips. So I still have a billion whips. I've added more, of course. So my Big Cozy Cardi still on the needles. My Cocoa Pebbles pullover, which is actually the Andrea Mowry Weekender. I have that swatched and someday to get on the needles. But I did have a couple of other things that I wanted to show. So what I just put on needles a couple of days ago is a tank. And I kind of went around and around as to what tank I wanted to do, because I have, so I wanted to do a tees and tanks knit along. I definitely need some summer wears because I only have one thing that's even summer appropriate. And so it would be great to do a tank, and it seems like it should be really, really fast, right? Right? We'll see. We'll see how fast this goes. I think I cast it on Sunday. Yeah, so I joined to knit in the round on Sunday, and I am, let's see, I have about that much done. So I'm pretty excited. This is the little lace crop from Knititude. I think it's Chantal Miyagishima. I think that's how you say her last name, but it's Chantal and she's from Knititude. And I love her patterns because they are very beginner friendly, but they're also fun and easy. And they're kind of a fun thing to kind of toss into your whip projects, just for something simple to add on to. So I started this, and I don't know if you can see that. This is my Golden Girl stitch marker. It says Stay Golden. I just got that this weekend, and I think it was from a company called Fat Girl Fibers, PHAT. So I'll look it up and I'll put it into the description below, but I think those are fantastic. We're huge Golden Girl fans in my house, so those were kind of a win. And also, I found the coolest thing from a company called Squirrel Crate. So it's Squirrel Crate, and she's on Etsy. She has these stitch markers that she made. They're wood stitch markers, and they basically kind of tell you what to do. So this bag says like beginning of round, knit one, to knit two together, make one right, slip, slip, knit. So you know what you need to do when you're working through a pattern. It's kind of just a nice visual reminder. And if you're gonna make a marker where you should be doing your pattern anyway, this is a great tool to do that. So I got these, and it's squirrelcrate.etsy.com if you're looking for some fun ones like that. And what I used the other container for, which I thought was brilliant, genius. I mean, I raved when I saw what she had. So basically what they are is they're little stitch markers that have numbers on them. So you could have, depending on how much you have to cast on, this kit was done by 25s. So it has like 25, 50, 75. So for every 25 stitches I cast on, I put this little stitch marker, and it helped me count. So I didn't have to have like because normally I do every 10 stitches, I'll put a stitch marker. But when you have to do 20, 200, that's like 20 stitch markers. You've run out of stitch markers for one thing, and then they're all over and they're all in your way. And so, so these I thought were brilliant, and those are also from Squirrel Crate. So I'm really gonna love using these, especially for the more garments that I make with the bigger cast-ons. So, and I cast it on. I saw this online as a hack for casting with the long tail cast on, and it's brilliant. I don't know about you, but every time I do a long tail cast on, I have to repeat it at least at least 3 times because I run out of yarn inevitably. Every time I run out of yarn the first and second times, and I can't seem to, for the life of me, figure out how to do the math, even though like I wrap it around and they say wrap it around 1 time for each stitch. I do that and then I double it, and it's never right. So when I cast on, I did the genius idea of casting on from the same ball, but I would cast on using the working yarn as well as, and I've already tucked it in, but the yarn from the center pull. So you basically put those together, and that is where you work from. And you, when you're doing your cast on with all your hands going all the fun ways, which just changed everything because I'm able to now do a cast on 1 time. And as long as I do it right and I count it right, I don't have to do it again. As long as I join for the beginning of a round and I don't twist my stitches, which that's a whole nother game. I do that all the time too. But this one so far, I think I'm on the 3rd row. I even fixed a cast on stitch because the cast on stitch wasn't quite right. And so I fixed that, which is a miracle. So every project I'm learning something new. And so this one, I learned how to fix my cast on edge when I drop a stitch. So I fixed that, which was very exciting. My broom sweater, I actually learned how to do a folded collar because that was a new technique that I'd never done before. So I loved that. And I'm kind of focusing on, what am I learning? What am I starting? What are the new things that are coming into my life as a result of these projects? So I think learning and growing is always important, no matter how old you get or what parent you are in life. So that's been really good for me. I've really enjoyed learning a little something with everything. So hopefully I'll have a great update. So next time, if I'm more than 3 rows in, you know I've been working because that's all I have left. I do have, this is the swatch that I created. And so you may not be able to tell, but the top up here, this is with the size 8 needles. And then this one down here is with size 9 needles because I didn't quite get gauge. But even with the number 9 needles, I still didn't get gauge. And it was barely different than the number 8s. So I went with the number 8s because that was what the pattern called for. And I did some math I know I'm doing math and knitting, it's horrible. I did some math to figure out, because I had basically 2 extra stitches per every 4 inches. So I had to do some math and some division to figure out if I do a smaller size, how many inches extra will I get from those extra stitches in my 4 inches. And so basically I cast on an XL instead of casting on an XXL, and I should be getting an extra 4 inches of width on the body. And it has like, I think 3 to 5 inches of positive ease that it recommends. So I think that'll get me right into the window of where I need to be. So this yarn, I didn't mention the yarn. I did get this at the Nifty Knitter when I went there for a local yarn store day back in April. It's from the Fibre company and it's called Luma. You see that? Luma. And it's a lofty blend of organic cotton, linen, merino wool, and silk. So it sounds perfect for summer. It does feel a little thick in the yarn. It's a DK yarn, so it might be a little heavier than something else, but the fiber content seems like it would be good for summer. So I'm really excited to see how that turns out. And so basically the pattern's gonna have, you have like 6 repeats of this lace pattern on the bottom. So you do 6 repeats of this, and then you just go until the splitting for underarms. And then I have to knit flat. So, you know, that part won't be as fun, but it'll give me a really cute tank top and I'll be ready for summer. So that right there is worth it. So that is my little lace crop by Knititude. And I'm using my super cool Golden Girl stitch markers or needle stoppers. And I'm looking forward to that. So when I get off, I'm actually gonna hit the needles a little bit. I would do it while I'm talking because normally I like to knit and talk, but there's a lace pattern and I don't want to mess it up because I don't want to have to go backwards and do it again. That is not for me. So I just got some new yarn from the Farmer's Daughter Fibre for their June Sock Squad subscription. And I think I can't decide. So I got those, and then I have the March ones that have like a teal and some peach colors. And then this new one has kind of a mango contrasting color with a kind of pale yellows and beiges and denim and teals, little sparkles. So I'll have to decide, am I going to use that which one am I going to use to make socks? So I have new socks that I'm going to be casting on, hopefully in the next couple of days. All right. And last time we chatted, if you remember, I was talking about the land of lost tools. So I had been losing everything. I had lost part of my my yarn spinner that I can attach to my wrist while I walk. I had lost a cast on a swatch for a project for the outline tee. So I had lost my swatch for that. And I couldn't for the life of me find it for a very long time. And strangely enough, this weekend when I was getting ready to go to Fibre Fusion out in Monroe, I was digging around because I can't remember what I was trying to find, but I was trying to find something in my yarn, in my knitting and my spinning basket. And so I was pulling, my basket sits on top of the dog crate because that's where everybody should keep all of their fiber and their yarn and stuff for projects. So I pulled the dog crate out and I was like, oh, there's my little sock bag. And I can't show it because it has dirty words on it. I don't like using dirty words. But it's really funny. Basically that stuff will block right out is what the bag says. And so I found that bag and I was like, I picked it up and I opened it up and guess what I found? I found the swatch for the sideline tee. Here it is, the swatch and the needles that I was working on. So this is the clover from Knitting for Olive. It's the merino cotton, I believe. And so this is the color clover that I'm actually going to use to create the outline tee by Jessie Made Designs. And so I have this, so now I can cast this on too. So it could be a cast on a palooza in June for Becky. But I would love to have this so that I can wear it. One of you had commented that you're also doing the outline tee and it's really kind of scary and exciting when you drop the stitches to go down the front. So I'm excited to do that along with you. So hopefully if you're working on the outline tee, let me know how it's going so I can join in the fear and fun with you. So that was really exciting. I found something that was missing. They're always somewhere, right? And that's what I tell my family. And whenever something's lost, I'm like, well, it's somewhere. And of course they're like, duh, Mom, of course it's somewhere, but where? I don't know, it'll turn up. It turned up, I was very excited. All right, and then something else turned up. I can't remember why, but we had to dig into the couch because, you know, things fall into the couch and they go there to die. So we were looking for something in there. And as I was digging in there, I found all kinds of little, like my cat has toys under there. There's always like a random sock under the couch, a whole bunch of fur. So we got a lot of that. But also, lo and behold, was my leather strap that I was looking for my yarn spinner. So I have that now too. So now I can walk and I can knit and it's just gonna be fantastic. So this one is, I forget what it's called. It's like a yarn spinner for walking and knitting. I use it, sometimes I'll put it on like, when I go to hockey games, I'll hang this on the armrest and then that way my yarn doesn't fall into the row in front of me, which is done many times, and then it's really hard to get it and I have to irritate the people ahead of me. So I put that oftentimes onto the arm of my chair. And that is from Sunrose Grove Knittery, and that's a company that does, the sock blockers I just showed you was from there as well. And then this is my spinner. So I'm very excited to have that. And I'll probably pick up another one this summer so I could do two-sided color work where I'm walking, because that's how adventurous I am. I'm not, but maybe someday I will be. That'll be pretty exciting. Okay, so that's faux, whips, and I just have a few little fun things to show you. So the acquisitions, I showed you my the yarn that I got from the local yarn shop day back in April at the Nifty Knitter. This is so pretty. I'd never heard of Fibre Company, so I'm very excited to work with it. It's kind of it feels like a very unique blend of yarn for summer. It's a DK weight, and because I love the feel of a piece that's made with fingering weight yarn. I love the drape of it. I love the feel of it, the lightweight, the lightness of it. But I don't like all the stitches that have to go into it, how long it takes me. I mean, it takes me a long time to make anything, although that could be changing. We'll see. We'll see if you're at the beginning of a new era of Becky's finishing era. And so I picked something with a DK weight in the hopes that it would actually go quicker. So we'll see if that actually comes true as a result of that. But that was from the local yarn shop that I went to a couple of weeks ago. All right, so now that we've seen all that, I have just some fun little acquisitions that I want to show you. I think I'm going to do a separate video for all of the June activities, the fun things that go on, because we have Knit in Public Day in, gosh, this weekend it's coming up. So depending on when I actually get around to uploading the video, it'll be this weekend. And so I'll talk about that. I'll talk about Fibre Fusion, all that, because I was really on a quest for notions and small things. I didn't want to grab a lot of yarn right now because I have yarn for the projects that I'm working on, and I have yarn for some projects that I don't have projects for. And so I didn't want to go crazy with that, but I did get some really cool little notions. And I actually got to meet a couple people. So I got to meet Jamie Lomax, who wrote the doodle directory for doing doodle patterns and things like that. So I got to meet her. And we took a picture, and if I'm really good and I do end up editing this, I'll put a picture up here, but otherwise you can just revel in it and close your eyes and imagine me standing next to a really cool lady who also has really cool glasses, and we're holding her book and taking a picture. So there's your visual, if in case I don't get to editing. I don't do a lot of editing because I don't know how to do a lot of editing, and also it slows me down from getting stuff up on the web, because otherwise I just sit there and go, oh, I'm paralyzed. I have to edit. I have to edit. And so the last one, I literally I'm like, I can't edit. I started doing it. And it was too much work, too much effort. So I said, forget it. And I just put it up. So you may or may not get edits. And that's the way it rolls when you're good enough. So I just wanted to share a couple of things. So these I got some stitch markers from the Sunrise Grove Knittery, which is the company that makes some of my sock blockers and my other wooden treasures. And so these are some little owls, which I think are really cute. My husband's a super fan of owls, and so I always kind of look for fun things with owls on it. And then there's this one with these adorable sheep. So if you can see those adorable sheep, and then there's of course a little skein of yarn, and their little faces are just so cute. So there's that. And then I showed you the stitch markers that help me count and cast on, and I'm so excited about those. I also got these little stitch markers that are little skeins of yarn. Aren't they cute? And purple's my favorite color. And so you could either get blue and green's my other favorite color, or blue and purple. And so I went with the purple. I wanted to get them both, but I had to restrain myself some way. So these are really cute, handmade in San Diego. And so I think what happens is the yarn maker up here sends the skeins down to San Diego. And then the company in San Diego actually makes these stitch markers for her it's Stay Classy Crafts. So Stay Classy San Diego. So they're the ones that actually put together the skein stitch markers. So I thought those were super, super cute. Yeah, so I'm excited. I need to get stuff knitting so I can put progress keepers everywhere, and hopefully you'll find them all over the place, and you'll say, oh, those are so cute, and you'll be so impressed, just like I am. And then I got, some little snips that I can actually take on an airplane and they won't confiscate. And I love those. They're little safety scissors. I'm all, safety first. And so let's see. I also had an order that I placed with the Grocery Girls, because I just love some of their fun little stuff. And they had some really cute stitch markers. And so I'll pull one out for you. And they're little rose quartz cats. Let's see if I can make it so you can see that. Can you see that? It's a little rose, kind of a rose colored kitty stitch marker. Oh, I love them. And I do have 2 cats, so we do a lot of cat things in the house. We also have 2 dogs, so we do a lot of dog things. We also have a gecko. I don't do any gecko things because I told my husband, I'm like, that is your deal. You and Quinn, you're in charge of the gecko. I'm not dealing with that. So those are some of the cute little treasures. I also got myself a new bag. Who doesn't love a project bag, right? And so this is from Fat Girls Fibre LLC. So if you can see that, it's PHAT Girls. Let me get my face out there. Boop, boop, boo. Yeah, so I love the little blue cats and the flowers. And it's nice because it's got the drawstring top. And so that is kind of a key for me. And then just a wristlet. So if I wanted to, I actually was subbing in a different classroom today, so I took this with me so I could do a little knitting while I was supervising the computer science class today. So I love gadgets and gizmos galore. All right, so that's most of the nitty stuff, the nitty gritty. Oh, but I wanted to show you, hold on, not most of the nitty gritty. So my youngest child, Quinn, he is a ceramic artist. He is a cosplayer. He is like truly the artist of the family. And he made me, in his ceramics class this year, he made me a yarn bowl. So you can see it's got a snake around the top. And he did even this little spiral for my yarn to come through. And he just did an amazing job. So, a little love for mom right there. I have good kids. I enjoy my kids. So that was super cool. He did a great job, and so I'm excited. I've used it for a couple things. It's really good for kind of the smaller skein projects like sock yarn and stuff like that. And right now I've been using it for all of my stitch markers and my needle stoppers and his gross little squishy thing that he got when he went to the dentist. Like, you're 16 and we still get squishy little things when we go to the dentist. So yeah, so that's all my nitty type stuff. And so on another note, I did want to, you're probably a little bit like me. So if you're here, you probably watch podcasts so you can kind of knit along with somebody or feel like you have people around you and it's your own little knitting group, because some of us don't have knitting people around us, or we live in places that don't have a lot of people, or we don't have a lot of fiber artists around. And so YouTube basically becomes our community. And so I definitely spend a lot of time whenever I'm knitting to either an audiobook or a podcast. And so the content I'm sharing here is kind of knit related because it's stuff that you can do while you're knitting. So there you go. If you don't care about stuff you can do while you're knitting, feel free to sign off, say goodbye, and we'll see you next time. But if you want to stick around, I have some cool things that I've been watching and listening to, and so I wanted to share those with you. So first, I just finished reading It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. I had recently finished It Ends With Us, which apparently is the first one, and I think they turned that into a Netflix or a movie of some sort with Blake Lively. And it was really, really good. It does deal with domestic abuse, and so if you're sensitive to that kind of thing, probably not a great choice. But the second book I just read is It Starts With Us, and so I enjoyed that. It kind of picked up right where the last book left off. I wished I had seen a little bit more of the ex-husband and wife dynamic, and it seemed a little more of a basic romance story, kind of, sort of, but not real mushy gushy. So that was satisfying, and I did enjoy kind of finding out a little bit more of the history of some of the characters in the first book, a little of the backstories and how they became who they were, which was cool. So the character development was nice. I'm rereading a book called The Tao of Martha. And I have a few friends out there that we all love reading books by Jen Lancaster. And so her first book that came out was a memoir called Bitter is the New Black. And so if you haven't read it, I encourage you to read it. I laugh out loud every time I read one of Jen Lancaster's books. And so Bitter is the New Black basically is from when she got laid off during the dot-com bust, basically in the early 2000s. And it's funny because I was actually working in technology during that time and looked back and can't believe some of the perks and benefits that were happening during that time, just as a result of kind of the venture capital that was flowing all over the place, and the hiring and staffing and things that were happening in Silicon Valley during that time. So that was fun for me. She's definitely, there's a lot of, she knows that she is first world problems, and she's dealing with first world problems in most of the books. So you kind of have to take it tongue in cheek. She did grow. She did learn a lot during that time. And so she's done memoirs based on different times in her life, whether it was when she was a younger kid. She also did one kind of like she's going to do new things in her life because she was realizing she was just watching a lot of reality TV. And so she realized she had to do some living instead of just watching people living. And so that was another book. And so this one is the Tao of Martha. And so basically she's living a whole year according to the philosophies and practices of Martha Stewart. And so it's really funny to see, because I see myself as like, I can do a lot of things. And then I look at the experts and then I realize how far short I fall. And so it's fun to watch her try to be very Martha, and where she succeeds and where she really falls, when she goes overboard and things like that. And also just kind of the realities of daily living and life with pets and family members and things like that. So I find her books laugh out loud funny. So I just decided to listen to that one again. And it was available through Libby for a library checkout. So I did that. And then my daughter gave me a book, and I can't remember what it's called, so I'll have to write it down or put a picture of it if I can. It's called The Book Club, I think, for Outrageous Women. It's a book that came out this year, and it is, I just started it. It's basically about, in the 1960s, a small book club of women in kind of this suburban, where everything looks Pleasantville kind of thing. Everything looks perfect on the outside, but there's a lot of stuff boiling underneath. And so this group of four women is going to start a book club, and they are reading The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan. I don't know why I'm blanking on it. She's one of the early people in the women's, Betty Friedan, in the early women's liberation movement down in the 60s. And so I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes up, and a lot of people starting to realize their potential and how much of it is being just oppressed in the society that they live in. And so I'm confident it's going to make me feel glad that I live in the time that I do. And also it's going to encourage me to continue fighting for the things that are important to people living in our country, in this country here, as well as women around the world, and the things that we've been generationally dealing with. And there's slow change, and some things start to change, and then we go, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and then 5 forward. And so I'm looking forward to kind of seeing the experience those women have as they work through that. And so that's kind of the book side of my world. And on the podcast side, so when I am knitting, and even when I'm not, sometimes I'm just sitting around playing games and stuff like that, because as I mentioned, I'm a phone game junkie. I play a lot of Candy Crush Soda. So that and chess. I've become a chess junkie as well. So while I'm doing that, the podcast I just started binge watching is Table 10. It's a pair of sisters who live outside of Pittsburgh, and they're both new knitters, and it's kind of exciting to see the joy and enthusiasm, and just the fact that they just bust in and they're just going to do it. They're going to try things and kind of don't worry about the outcome. We're going to do it, and we're going to see how it goes. And so I've really enjoyed them, and they're funny as all get out. And I enjoy watching the bloopers at the end, which are really fun. I guess my bloopers will just happen in between, because until I learn how to do some really good editing, they're just going to stick around. And so that's my binge podcast. I've also, I think it was Allie Makes Everything who, when she did one of her first kind of podcast roundups, she talked about how so many times we tend to watch YouTube channels of people who are like us. They look like us, they live in a similar area to us, same economic status, things like that. So humans want to connect, they want to find same. And so we like same. Difference kind of throws us off. And so, but diversity and difference makes us better, makes us stronger, makes us more empathetic, more compassionate, more interesting. If we lived in a white bread world, this would be the most boring place ever. I don't want that for me or for anybody. So I'm really glad there are different voices who are different from me. And so she encouraged me and everybody else she talks to kind of look for some diversity, look for people who don't look like you and haven't lived the same life as you. And so I've been going out and I've been looking for other places. So I started watching Escarla. She's a podcaster as well, and she has she spins and she knits and she does all kinds of really cool crafts. And she works from home and she takes care of her baby, which is kind of just fun to see somebody living their regular life and knitting and crafting as she goes through it. And then also Two Sisters Knitting Talking, and I can't say the word because my kids will they'll harass me to no end, but Two Sisters Knitting Talking stuff. I've loved watching them as well. They just bring so much joy to my life as I watch them. And I'm excited to kind of, because they, one of them will not knit socks and says she will not knit socks, and don't ask her, she's not going to do it. And so I'm eager to see if there's an evolution there, and if she does either begin to knit socks or move into sweaters or something besides she does these beautiful wraps and shawls. And so we'll see if she branches out. So they're kind of fun to watch. I enjoy my time with them. And then also, obviously, Allie Makes Everything, shout out back to you, and AKA Nora Knits. And so that was another one that I was directed to. And so she's very different from me. I mean, we're similar in the fact that we're both white. We're probably middle class. But she seems just boisterous and ebullient and very sweet and kind in a way that I'm not the same way. So I enjoy watching her, and I love that she tells me how long her projects take, because that's kind of a really fun thing for me since it takes me forever. Sometimes I feel inadequate when she says, oh, this one's been on the needles for 22 days and now it's done. But she's had some ones that have been on there longer, so those kind of are satisfying for me as well. And just a warning, her theme song is an earworm. I sing it all the time. I wake up in the morning and I'm singing it. And I'm not going to sing it now because I don't want to put it in your head. But go check out AKA Nora Knits. And I think you'll enjoy her positivity and just the giggly attitude that she has. It brings so much happiness into my days. But I do sing that stinking theme song. Like in the mornings, I wake up and I'm singing it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to stop singing it. And then again, and then I watch it on a Saturday, and there it goes. It's starting back in my brain again. So can't get rid of Nora. And then I just started watching Needles at the Ready. So a couple of guys, and I'm really glad that there's so many men kind of bursting. They might not be bursting onto the knitting scene, but I'm becoming more familiar with a lot of men in the fiber arts world. And so I really enjoyed seeing that. And so many of them are artists themselves. So they're either making yarn or they're doing painting and things like that. They're all knitters, and they make some beautiful, beautiful things. And so I love seeing that kind of diversity. It's different from myself. They're East Coasters, whereas I'm a West Coaster. And so there's a lot of differences there. And so I really enjoyed that. So if you're looking for something new to add to your list, and I love a long format podcast. I could just sit there because literally I want to knit for hours. This is all I want to do, which is why my laundry's not getting washed, and I have to eat cereal for dinner. But so I think I like them for being a couple hours long because I can actually get a lot of stuff done while I listen to them. And it just feels like you're friends. I love feeling like I have Fibre friends out there, and that hopefully at some point I will get to meet most of you and we'll knit somewhere together, and it'll be super cool. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. So hopefully you got a friend in me, and I've got a friend in you. And so I hope that I'll get to see you again very, very soon. And so please come back again, like and subscribe. Those are all the things I'm supposed to say to get you to come back. So like and subscribe, so that way whenever I do a new video, I tend to post maybe 1 or 2 a month, and it's basically like kind of some short format ones. And it's really long-winded, super chatty. I've got lots to talk about. And about 20 minutes ago, I thought, oh gosh, I'm almost all done, and it's only been 30 minutes. Well, solve that problem. It's 53 minutes now. So if you stuck around, thank you. You and I are clearly best friends forever. So thanks so much. And I look forward to seeing you on the next podcast. Take care.